Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Tonight, on First at 9 this Monday, the 27th of January 2025. Budget boost. President pledges salary hikes for state sector employees via the upcoming February budget. The poll call. Local government elections set for April, says Minister Bimal Ratnayaka. Supreme Court's confidential decision on election petitions to be sent to the President and the Speaker. Export success. Sri Lanka smashes export record, raking in a whopping $16.17 billion in 2024. Bailed out. Colombo Magistrates Court grants bail to Yoshida Rajapaksa, conditional on a travel ban. The court warns the suspect against witness tampering.
Chilo Dairy, Sri Lankawama Kiren Perata. ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබා දෙත හැක.
කට්ට පරිස්සම් කරගත්තොත් අපි පරිස්සම්.
Asian Paints Causeway Aquasave වැස්සත් මට්ටුයි ගෙදරත් තිස්නේ.
From Ada Derana, this is Ada Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Ada Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Adrisinghe joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by every survey and beloved by the people. Now on your top story tonight, President Anura Dissanayake assures an increment for state sector employees through the 2025 budget, which is expected to be tabled in Parliament in February. He made this statement while addressing a public gathering in Tabuttegama yesterday. On a separate note, he emphasized the government's commitment to ongoing investigations, stating that the government aims to work diligently on each legal matter and to proceed beyond the investigation phase to file charges in the High Courts.
A public gathering organized by the National People's Power under the theme A Thriving Nation, A Beautiful Country was held yesterday in Tabuttegama, Anuradhapura under the patronage of President Anura Dissanayake.
We expect to present the budget proposal for this year in February. For a long time, employees in the state sector have not received a basic salary increment. We plan to increase it significantly. Some people have inquired as to what will happen to those involved in corruption. The President and the government do not have the authority to conduct investigations. The Criminal Investigation Department and the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption are responsible for carrying out investigations. Based on the findings of these investigations, the Attorney General's Department must file charges in the High Court. Consequently, the High Court will deliver a verdict and, if warranted, sentence the accused to jail. That is the procedure. Currently, suspects are being remanded while investigations are ongoing. In some cases, courts may grant bail, but this is not a matter of concern. What we aim to do is to move beyond the investigative phase and ensure that cases are filed in the High Court. Recently, a former minister and his wife were arrested. Some questioned as to why the wife was arrested. To clarify, it was the minister and his personal secretary who were arrested. If they rule as a family, they must also face the consequences as a family. This file was sent in October 2015 to the Attorney General's Department seeking advice. However, a reply only arrived in January 2025, 10 years later, recommending arrests and the recording of statements. The delay was due to fears that officials might be transferred if they had responded earlier. Another case involves the murder of Tajuddin. One of the most critical documents for this case is the Judicial Medical Officer's report. Unfortunately, the medical officer involved has passed away. Similarly, the senior superintendent of the police who investigated the matter has also passed away, complicating the investigation. While some investigations are challenging, we assure you that we will proceed with them diligently. We have time and we are in no rush.
පරීක්ෂණ දුෂ්කරයි. හැබැයි දුෂ්කර වුණත් කරනවා හොඳේ. කල් තියෙනවනේ. කලබල වෙන්න ඕනේ.
පිරිපුන් ජීවිතයකට ඔබ සමගින් පෙරට Union Assurance.
Welcome to Cinnamon Life, South Asia's biggest entertainment hub, where awe awaits.
චන්දරුසුමේ කාගෙන් වන අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Sadaharita Plantations Limited, celebrating 22 years of your trust.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Responsibility to look after our health.
The best nutritional supplement for diabetic patients with no added sugar. Maliban Vitagen. Stay healthy for a good reason.
Now, Yoshitha Rajapaksa, who had been in remand custody, was granted bail today after being produced before the Colombo Magistrates Court this morning. The court imposed a travel ban on him and issued a warning to not influence witnesses. Colombo Additional Magistrate Manjula Ratnayaka ordered this release on 2 surety bonds of 50 million rupees each, citing the prosecution's failure to present sufficient and satisfactory evidence to justify further remand. The case has been scheduled for its next hearing on the 16th of May. Yoshitha Rajapaksa, son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, was arrested on the 25th of January under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act in connection with the purchase of a 31.5 perch plot of land in the Kakatiya area of Sirimalu in Ratmalana for 34 million rupees. Rajapaksa was arrested in Beliyatha that morning and was subsequently produced before the Colombo Additional Magistrate in the afternoon, where he was remanded until today. The case was subsequently taken up before the Colombo Additional Magistrate Manjula Ratnayaka today. During the hearing, Additional Solicitor General Dileepa Piris claimed that the named purchaser of the property, Daisy Forrest, who is Yoshitha Rajapaksa's grandmother, lacked sufficient financial means to acquire such a high-value asset. Investigations revealed that until 2012, she did not own any immovable property, raising concerns about her ability to purchase the land. A significant disclosure was made regarding the deed of the property, which was reportedly found in the possession of a person named Palitha Gamage. According to statements from Daisy Forrest, Gamage, who is alleged to have connections with former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, paid 24 million rupees for the property. However, Gamage denied those claims, claiming instead that he had given 12.5 million rupees as a bribe to a person named Chatura, an associate of former President Rajapaksa, to secure a road development tender. When he later demanded the return of his money, he was given the deed to the property. Subsequently, Additional Solicitor General Piris detailed Yoshitha Rajapaksa's alleged connection to the property. At the time of the transaction, Rajapaksa was reportedly in a romantic relationship with Yasara Abe Nayaka, whose uncle Vasanta Jayasuriya initially intended to purchase the property. According to Jayasuriya's testimony, Yoshitha Rajapaksa transferred 34 million rupees to secure the deed for the property. The court was also informed of other ongoing investigations related to Yoshitha Rajapaksa, including cases involving a land purchase in the Dehiwala area and the CSN company, where money laundering involving sums of 17 million rupees and 34 million rupees had been uncovered. Based on those revelations, the Additional Solicitor General requested that the court obtain a formal statement from Yoshitha Rajapaksa and remand him for further investigations. However, President's counsel Sampath Mendis, representing Yoshitha Rajapaksa, filed a bail application arguing that investigations have remained incomplete even after 8 years. He pointed out that the first suspect in the case had already been granted bail and that the same consideration should apply to his client. After reviewing submissions, Additional Magistrate Manjula Ratnayaka stated that the available evidence did not warrant remanding the suspect for further investigation. The magistrate criticized the CID's inefficiency, particularly in failing to freeze the property in question, which is a standard procedure under the Money Laundering Act. The court, however, concluded that there was sufficient evidence to proceed with the case under the Money Laundering Act, but granted Yoshitha Rajapaksa bail. He was released on 2 personal bail bonds of 50 million rupees each, with conditions including a travel ban and a warning to not influence witnesses. The case is scheduled to be called again on the 16th of May.
ඒක අහන්න ඕනේ නියෝජ්‍ය ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යවරයාගෙන් මොකද රාත්‍රියේ කරපු සාකච්ඡාවේ මම හිටියේ නැහැ. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ කෑ ගහන්නේ මමනේ. හිරේ යන්නේ මල්ලි.
දැනට අවුරුදු 8කට කලින් පමණ තමයි
This case was filed 8 years ago. Until now, Yoshitha Rajapaksa was not identified as a suspect in the case. Typically, before filing charges against someone in the High Court, it is crucial to obtain a statement from the suspect. Accordingly, the Attorney General has instructed the police to record a statement from him. If there are no concerns about the investigation under the provisions of the Bail Act, and if he is not a flight risk, granting bail is the standard procedure. Being discharged on bail does not mean you are acquitted. Now in other local news, the Supreme Court declared the verdict on the petitions filed challenging the constitutionality of the Local Government Elections Special Provisions Bill, will be sent directly to the President and the Speaker of the Parliament. Meanwhile, speaking to media yesterday, Minister of Transport, Highways, Sports and Civil Aviation, Bimal Ratnayaka, hinted that the local government polls will be held in April this year. The local government polls, which were initially scheduled to be held on the 9th of March 2023, was postponed indefinitely on numerous occasions by the previous administration over difficulties in allocating provisions required for it to be held. However, in August last year, the Supreme Court ruled that the local government elections must be held at the earliest possible instance. Accordingly, on the 3rd of December 2024, the Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to draft the Local Government Elections Special Provisions Bill in order to make the necessary provisions for the recalling of nominations for local government polls and to make arrangements for calling new nominations. Against this backdrop, 4 parties, including the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, filed petitions moving the Supreme Court to declare unconstitutional certain clauses of the Local Government Elections Special Provisions Bill. When the petitions were called before the Supreme Court today, Deputy Solicitor General Nirmalan Vigneshwaran, who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General, stated that the purpose of presenting the proposed bill is to protect democratic rights by overcoming the shortcomings of the Local Government Elections Act. He further submitted to court that the bill seeks to provide opportunities to new voters. The Supreme Court today concluded the hearing of the petitions filed challenging the Local Government Elections Special Provisions Bill. Accordingly, the court declared that the confidential verdict, which has not been made public yet, will be sent directly to the President and the Speaker of the House. Meanwhile, commenting on the Supreme Court ruling, Minister of Transport, Highways, Sports and Civil Aviation, Bimal Ratnayaka, hinted at a probable window within which the polls will be held.
The Local Government Elections Special Provisions Bill has been presented to the Parliament. However, several parties have filed petitions against the bill in question. We expect that the Election Commission will hold the local government polls either in the 2nd or the 4th week of April.
Now, Yoshita Rajapaksa's arrest and the repeal of privileges granted to former presidents were the talk of the town in the political arena today. Let's take a look at those thoughts now.
In the lead up to the presidential election, Minister Samantha Vidyaratna addressed a gathering and made a promise. At the moment, the 10th cabinet meeting has also concluded. The decision should have been taken already. But why aren't we hearing anything about it? Have they forgotten about it? No, they have forgotten it on purpose. According to Article 36 of the Constitution, the government cannot revoke pensions of former presidents. The inclusion of the proposal to revoke pension of former presidents depicts that the NPP did not comprise a single member who was aware of the provisions of the Sri Lankan Constitution. When the law is enforced, those who broke it shiver in fear. Subsequently, they make various claims before the media. This government cannot be shaken up by such claims. When a son of a former politician is arrested for defrauding millions of rupees, they claim it is political revenge. How is that possible? The general public wants to see the law being enforced against the elite.
පොඩි මිනිස්සුත් කැමති නේද ලොකු මිනිසුන්ට නීති ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න.
පළවත්තේ NPP චිත්‍රාගාරයේ පටිගත කරපු.
Currently, we are all watching the new motion picture produced by the NPP theatre in Pelavatta. These theatrics are probably directed by Ananda Vijaypala. However, the first trailer of this picture was accidentally aired when the Deputy Minister of Defence referred to it at a public gathering. The title of this motion picture is "We Spoke of This Last Night Too." This is what we are watching at the moment. When the public criticizes the government on TV bluntly, the government understands that its vote bank is eroding.
තමන්ට හිමි ජනබලය දැන් අහිමි වෙමින් යන බව.
If anyone, be it Yoshida Rajapaksa, any other Rajapaksa or anyone else has broken the law, then an investigation must be conducted. However, the political revenge must not be taken. These are two different things. We have not taken political revenge. We have identified those who have broken the law and we will take legal actions against those suspects. Right now, around 9 or 10 files have been uncovered, and we will take onward legal action against those suspects.
නීතිමය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග ඉදිරියට රැගෙන යමින් තියෙනවා.
78 ආණ්ඩුක්‍රම ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ 36 1 2 3 4 කියන ව්‍යවස්ථා ගත්තා.
Pursuant to the Article 36 of Sri Lanka's constitution, every former president is entitled to a pension. Even if new constitutional amendments are passed, pensions paid cannot be reclaimed. Laws cannot be applied retrospectively.
ඒට බලපාන විදියට ගෙනින්න බෑ. ඒකට හේතුව මූලික මිනිස්සයික උල්ලංඝනය.
Fast track your career from O levels with eSoft.
ඩයබටිසෝල් සීනිවලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට අමතක නොවන පෝෂණය.
ප්‍රයිම් ගෲප් ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට හඳුන්වා දෙන ලෑන්ඩ් ලීසින් ලේසියෙන් මීටමක්.
Single 1111 up to 60% off from the 11th November to the 17th of November.
Kalani wire කිසිගින්නක් නෑ.
කිසිගින්නක් නෑ. Kalani Fire Shield Wire.
Acting High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, Dr. Satyanjal Pandey emphasized that moving from debt-driven growth to investment-led partnerships remains a priority in the Indo-Sri Lanka partnership, as highlighted during President Anura Dissanayaka's maiden state visit to India last year. The Indian Acting High Commissioner to Sri Lanka made these remarks while speaking at a ceremony held yesterday to commemorate the 76th Republic Day of India. Meanwhile, attending the same event, Minister of Health and Mass Media Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa said that Sri Lanka recognizes India's potential as a growth pole and revealed hopes that India's economic and technological growth will benefit Sri Lanka in the future. The 76th Republic Day of India was celebrated yesterday with two special celebrations organized at the India House, the official residence of the Indian High Commissioner of Sri Lanka. The morning celebration was conducted under the patronage of Acting Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Dr. Satyanjal Pandey. Meanwhile, the evening event saw the attendance of many public representatives, including Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, former Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, and leader of the Sarvajana Balaya Alliance, Dilith Jayavira.
India has been a trusted friend, steadfast partner, and our closest neighbor whose unstinted support has been pivotal in our country's journey towards economic recovery, growth, and stability. India's assistance to Sri Lanka in times of need and the unwavering solidarity are deeply cherished. Sri Lanka recognizes India's potential as a growth pole and believes that India's sustained economic growth and development in technology will certainly benefit Sri Lanka's gradual economic stability and complement its recovery measures. India remains the largest source market for tourist arrivals to Sri Lanka. This indicates that there is great potential to harness in relation to tourism by our two countries.
Sri Lanka, just as India, has remained a steadfast democracy and a republic through its independent years. India has time and again demonstrated that it is a dependable partner and a reliable friend for Sri Lanka. India, as the co-chair of the Official Creditors Committee, remains involved in financial stabilization effort for Sri Lanka through its engagement with the IMF. India has created additional fiscal headroom for Sri Lanka by converting $100 million worth of development debt assistance to grants. This takes India's grant assistance to Sri Lanka to nearly $780 million, making India the principal development partner for Sri Lanka. India's development assistance project exists in each of the 25 districts of Sri Lanka. As Sri Lanka turns a corner from economic recovery to growth, our leadership has indicated a strategic shift from debt-driven models towards investment-led partnership across different sectors. This is a major highlight of the joint statement agreed upon by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and President His Excellency Anura Kumar Dissanayake. The energy projects include establishing electricity grid connectivity and multi-product petroleum pipelines between both the nations. We have jointly decided that post the successful launch of Nagapattinam and Kankesanturai ferry service, we will also initiate a ferry service between Rameshwaram and Talaimannar. The India-Sri Lanka partnership, just as democracy, is people-led and people-centered. People lie at the core of each project, every initiative undertaken by the two countries. To strengthen that core, to foster partnerships for a shared future.
Now, as Sri Lanka imports rice to ease a shortage of rice in the local market, the country has also imported salt to battle an acute shortage in the local market as well. Accordingly, the first shipment of 1,485 metric tons of salt imported from India reached Sri Lanka today. The shipment marks the first time in 15 years that Sri Lanka has imported salt for public consumption. The decision was taken after the Cabinet of Ministers approved the import of 30,000 metric tons of salt on the 19th of December last year. However, the chairman of the Salt Producers Association, Ganaka Amarasinghe, highlighted that the cost of salt imports through the Sri Lanka State Trading Corporation is much higher since the corporation imports a metric ton of salt at a per unit discrepancy of $26. The association's chairman requested the government to extend the import date for producers and vowed that the shortage will be solved without any prejudice to the country. Now, in some climate-related updates, the National Building Research Organisation has issued warnings today on air quality drops across the island, reaching slightly unhealthy levels. According to the NBRO, the air quality index has dropped to slightly unhealthy levels in Nallur, Dambulla and Batiklu. Accordingly, the NBRO advised the general public to seek medical advice if this condition causes breathing difficulties for sensitive individuals. Meanwhile, the air quality index in Dambulla, Jaffna, Kurunegala, Colombo, Kandy and Hambantota has dropped to moderate levels. The organisation reported that the air quality is acceptable. However, some pollutants may cause health concerns for very small numbers of people who are unusually sensitive to air pollution. The air quality level in Nuwara and Anuradhapura remained at a good level. Welcome back. You're joining Ada Derana, Sri Lanka's most trusted news source. Now in your business news, total export earnings in 2024 were recorded at a whopping $16.17 billion, achieving a record-breaking export revenue and reflecting a 7.06% increase over the same period in 2023. This marks the highest ever export earnings in Sri Lanka's history, surpassing the previous peak of $15.72 billion recorded in 2018. Meanwhile, export earnings in December 2024 reached $1.36 billion, reflecting a year-on-year improvement of 9.21%. A statement issued by the Export Development Board noted that according to data issued by the Sri Lanka Customs, merchandise export performance in December 2024 amounted to $1.04 billion, representing a 4.06% increase compared to December 2023. The increase in merchandise exports was primarily driven by increase in earnings from export of apparel and textiles, tea, rubber-based products and coconut-based products, spices and concentrates, and food and beverages. Meanwhile, services exports for the month of December 2024 were estimated at $322.92 million, reflecting a 29.96% increase year-on-year. Among Sri Lanka's top 10 export markets, India, Germany and the Netherlands all exhibited positive growth during the month, while exports to the European Union increased by 7.3% during the month. Now, Sri Lanka has lifted the ban on import of personal motor vehicles, including stations, with effect from February 1st in a gazette notice issued by President Anukumara Dissanayake in his capacity as the Minister of Finance. Accordingly, the Director General of Sri Lanka Customs has been authorized to release any goods which were imported based on a letter of credit established during the period of December 18, 2024 to January 27, 2025 as per the provisions of the Imports and Exports Control Regulations and arrived in Sri Lanka during the period of December 18, 2024 to July 31, 2025. Cars used up to 3 years can be imported. An importer registered with the Department of Motor Traffic could import any number of vehicles. Any other person can import one vehicle within the next 12 months. Importers will have to register vehicles within 90 days of import in his own name if it is not sold, or pay a 3% penalty fee. Now, in other business news, the Colombo Stock Exchange ended high today, recording another milestone as the all-share price index surged by 126.81 points, closing at an all-time high of 17,044.67 points. A similar behavior was witnessed in the S&P Sri Lanka 20, reaching significant gains, rising by 25.25 points to close at 5,145.37 points. High net worth and institutional investor participation was noted in John Keel's Holdings, Ceylon Bank Non-Voting and Melster Corp. Mixed interest was observed in Lanka IOC, Hat National Bank and Alumax. Meanwhile, today's trading reflected robust investor activity with a total turnover of 5.93 billion rupees. The capital goods sector was the top contributor to market turnover, while the banking sector was the second highest contributor. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers. Now, senior analyst of Capital Alliance, Sajid Nazar, joins us now with a few thoughts to round off our Markets in View segment for the week.
The domestic stock market rose throughout the previous week. The S&P SL20 rose 3.82%, climbing from 4,931 points to 5,120 points, while the ASPI climbed by 4.07% from 16,257 to 16,980. In addition to the index performance, market turnover rallied by 150.69% to 1.328 billion rupees, owing mostly to contributions from the food, beverage, tobacco sectors and the banking sector. Furthermore, the government raised 155 billion rupees last week through treasury bill auctions, where interest rates reduced on 3, 6 and 12-month bills by 21, 19 and 17 basis points respectively.
Welcome back. Now in your world news, South Korean authorities investigating last month's Jeju airplane crash have submitted a preliminary accident report to UN Aviation Agency today. The report cited the existence of DNA belonging to a bird species within the engines of the plane. However, the report provided no initial conclusions about what may have caused the Jeju airplane to land without its landing gear being deployed. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.